Hi friends, welcome to Java Express channel. Today we are going to discuss an important topic, auto scaling group. Okay, in previous section I explained about elastic load balancer. We'll see what are the drawback if you create manually servers while deploying your server. Okay, in previous section I explained and elastic load balancer with network load balancer. This is one of the type if you want to create a load balancer in AWS. Here we have three types. One is classical and one more a network load balancer and application load balancer. In this section, how to create a scaling group, how you need to attach this scaling group with load balancer, and we'll see application load balancer. We'll deploy a nginx server in that server, then we'll see how automatically is creating your server. Okay, if you assume that, let me show you this diagram. In previous section I explained this diagram. Once again, just a recap this one. If you see here, we created elastic load balancer in here. In this elastic load balancer we created the three web servers manually. If you assume that in web server 1 you install some softwares, you install your yum update, boot up startup scripts, you created. If you want to install any plugins, you need to install the software, and after that you need to install Apache server like nginx server, whatever you want, and we need to add some data. Okay, that is your changes. But if you want to do same step individually in your web server 1 and web server 2 and web server 3, it assume that whenever the traffic is more, then by that time, if you want to do manually, it will be a headache. All right, people required, resources are required, they need to do hard work. Instead of doing everything we done in the manual in elastic load balancer. Okay, whenever assume that the traffic came to the picture, Flipkart, if you take the flipkart.com in big billion day, lot of users will come, like lot of users will access the website, right? In that time, initially if they use every day, suppose assume that 500 users are there, the capacity cp utilization is around suppose 20% and 30% or 50%. Like whenever big billion day came to the picture, 5000 users, 10,000 users at a time, they will use that one. By that time what will happen, this web server one will increase to cp utilization till 80% or 90%, right? So by that time this web server 2 is available, web server 3 is available, right? Assume that here 80%, here 80%, here 80% is happen, so the server will be a down, right? If utilization is more, the performance will be a low. So to overcome this drawback, they introduced auto scaling group. Okay, exactly what auto scaling group, let me quickly draw a diagram. Assume that this is your ALB. Okay, now here you deployed auto scaling group. I can assume ASG plus ELB. Okay, that means here elastic load balancer with auto scaling group. Okay, and assume that here we can use some name. What we can use here, let me draw this diagram. Now we have auto scaling. Here we'll use application load balancer. Okay, previously I used network load balancer, we'll use application load balancer. Once you are hit this one, people will use here website, like people will hit right this part, like let me make it clarify. Here you use your domain www.flipkart.com. So people, whenever user hit will happen, auto scaling group will be initially while you are creating your application. Assume that you have two web servers. Okay, web server 1 and there is web server 2. Web server 1 and web server 2. Okay, let me zoom my page, it will be clear. So whenever your application is ready, you can integrate two servers will be created, right? Same, I want one more. Okay, so whenever your application is ready, whenever you created a load balancer, you can give minimum instances as 1 or 2 you are giving. So assume that if utilization is more, what I want to do is I want to increase one more load balancer without man intervention. Okay, so it will create 2 more servers now. Okay, what we'll do is here it will create one more server and one more server, like that. How many you want, you can create, like web server 3 you can give as a web server 3 and web server 4. Okay, so in this way you need to implement your auto scaling group. Okay, in order to do auto scaling group, you need to perform some actions. Some steps you need to follow. What are all the steps you need to follow? Okay, I can't do, if suppose flipkart.com, when I hit right now, suppose assume that utilization is 30%. Like you created one EC2 instance, if you need that much load, we can't do that one, right? That many users, we don't have to hit the URL. What we'll do, we'll install one external plugin. There is a stress software. By using that stress software, I can increase my capacity of the load. Okay, that capacity, how to increase, I will explain this section. What are the steps you need to take care? Okay, so initially we'll create one instance. When the utilization is support 80% is happen, we'll create these two instances, web server 2 and web server 3. Okay, after that big billion days completed, that means users will be less. Whenever users are less, I want to remove web server 2 and web server 3. I want to run only web server 1. That way we can mention your criteria, how many instances you need, how many instances to auto scaling. Scaling is not to increase, we can call as a horizontal scaling. Okay, scale in and scale out. Scale out in the sense you need to remove the instances from your server. If you want to increase, you can increase. Just this is the topic of auto scaling group. Okay, what are the steps you need to follow? I will show you the steps. Okay, so if you want to create auto scaling group, first you need to create a EC2 instance. Okay, we'll make it some name like javaexpress image server. Okay, this is your image. In this image we'll install some required softwares. Like what are the softwares? In order to support some plugins in Amazon machine, you need to install some plugin packages. You need to, if you do that one, you can install the Nginx server. Once Nginx server is installed, you will go and edit some name. Okay, with Java, welcome to javaexpress channel. Then after that you can install a stress software to increase the CPU utilization. If you want to decrease CPU utilization, so those steps will do that part. Okay, this is EC2 instance. Now these two steps everyone know. Why? Because how to create EC2 instance you are very familiar now. And to boot up start, either you can do the manual, either you can, while creating an EC2 instance, you can launch you as boot up start EC2 user data. You can provide your details. Once this part is done, we need to create an AMI, that means Amazon machine image. Why this exactly, why required? Assume, think why we need AMI. Means you created EC2 instance. Whenever utilization is more, you need to create one more instance, right? To do that action, we can't do manually. What we'll do, this whole EC2 instance will convert to an AMI. They are providing an option. It's like a, you can say like some Docker image, some AMI. By using this image, whenever new instance is creating, we need to provide some configuration. Okay, use this image to do to configuration templates. What all the softwares are required, those actions will do by using AMI. Whenever you creating the AMI, a snapshot will be created internally. Even though your original EC2 instance is deleted, by using a snapshot, you can create an image any number of times. Okay, next, once you are done this one, we'll create a load balancer. Okay, how to create a load balancer, what are the how architecture will be there. In the previous section detail we explained. If you are if you are a beginner to the AWS, please watch elastic load balancer before going to watch this section. Okay, it is mandatory to watch ELB. Once you are good at ELB, while creating auto scaling group, it is very easy to you. Okay, hardly it will take 7 steps only. Okay, here we'll use application load balancer like HTTP and HTTPS, whatever you want you can give. Okay, here in auto scaling group, in elastic load balancer you need to provide a target group, like the traffic is coming to where to there, right? Previously we added a instances manually to target group, so this time at runtime maybe you can create 5 servers, right? Those 5 servers automatically add to elastic load balancer by through target group. Okay, once you are good at it, then we can create a policy auto scaling group. Okay, you need minimum 1, even though if app is application some issues happen, it will down, it will create the new instance. Why? Because you are providing as a minimum 1 and a max is 3. In the real time they will use so many number of instances. As a big billion time maybe they can use 20-30 servers also, depend on their uses, depend on the CPU utilization. Why? Because it should not reflect performance, right? If anything is decreased, users will be a decrease, so it will be, the business will be a loss. Okay, so in the real time also auto scaling group is very important topic. If you are working in your company any project, if you are using AWS, you can go and verify what are the configurations they done. At least as a developer you will have an idea on this part how it is creating. Okay, next, here while creating an auto scaling group you need to launch a configuration. What is exactly configuration means? Which instance type. Why? Because you created an AMI, right? This AMI, it will be useful as part of launch configuration. That means this AMI is required as part of my launch configuration. You can say which is the instance type, which is the target group. You can provide those information is configuration details. Once you good at launch configuration, then you need to create a auto scaling group. This is the alarm. You need to create an alarm. It's not like a mobile alarm if you work at the morning at 6 o'clock, 7, not in that way. This alarm, whenever it will be a 2 ways, one for increase auto scaling group and one more for decrease auto scaling group. Like assume that for example we'll create, whenever utilization is a 40%, you want to create 3 instances at a time. Okay, whenever 40% is decreased, then you can decrease your instances. In that way we can do minimum 1 and maximum 3. Okay, the grace period you need to provide a 30 seconds for each instance. See, for right now for demo purpose I'm giving us a 30 seconds to create the instance. In the real time, like you're already using a website, users are less. By that time if you want to decrease, it won't immediately decrease your instance, it won't remove. Why? Because we will give some warm-up time. Okay, we are giving some 5 minutes. Once your user action is done, then you can delete your instance from our server. We need to do this whole configuration by admin. Okay, next, to increase a load on the server you need to use a stress software. Earlier I already explained, you need to add a plugin, we need to use some command. If you use that command, the CPU utilization when you create, it will be a 0%. Whenever you use that command, some stress, you need to process 8 vCPU load you are giving at a time, some time 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay, whenever you done this action, utilization it will go within 5 minutes, it will go to the 80%. Whenever the 80% it will reach your utilization, then not only 80%, it's depend on your whatever you are giving CPU utilization. Okay, so you can increase or you can decrease. Okay, these are all the steps you need to follow for auto scaling group. In the next section I will do hands on. I will show you how to do that part. Okay, please subscribe our channel and share to your friends and colleagues. If you like this video, please subscribe and click on bell icon to get more updates. Thank you guys.